Hi guys, this is Wireheadking, and today I'm going to be showing you how to render smoke and fire in the Cycles rendering engine. Before I start, I just want to say that I'm making this tutorial assuming you already have fire baked and you're just ready to add materials and render it. If you haven't, then you can watch some other tutorials on making fire, there's loads of them. Or if you already know how to make it, then just make some, bake it, and then come back. Because this tutorial is just about the shaders. Okay, so with that being said, if we jump along over here, at the moment this has got no materials on it. If we were to look at this rendered, it would be all black. In fact, I can just do that for you, like that. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is we're just going to start by making the smoke, and then we're going to add the fire on the top of that. So let's just get started. So if any of you have seen my other tutorial on rendering smoke and fire in Blender, it's quite similar to that. In fact, it's almost exactly the same as that. It's just we're going to be doing extra work to the fire, because in the previous one we were looking mainly at like wavelet sort of fire, like with explosions, and you can actually just get away with just making it yellow. But with FFT fire close up, you need to add in a bit more detail, and that's really what this tutorial is about. So anyway, if you've seen my previous tutorial, you know that what we first of all need is an attribute node. And what this does is, if we change the name to density, then add in a volume scatter node, put the factor into the density and then the volume into the volume, and then just look at this when it's rendered. You can see that we're now getting this sort of thin smoke appearing. And what this attribute thing did is, if I were to take this out of the density, you can see that when it loads, all we get is this block of volume, and that's useless. So what we need is the attribute, because what this does is it will tell the cube that this actually is just a cube with some voxel data inside of it. It will tell it that it's looking for the density of the smoke. And this is quite a fiddly way of doing it, but I think they're going to change it soon. This is just a temporary way to put it in the software. Okay, so now that that's done, we need to make a few changes. We need to make this smoke a bit thicker. In fact, let's just get my lamp and just make it a bit stronger so you can actually see the smoke. That would help. Okay, so now that that's done, we need to make the smoke a bit thicker. So the way we do that is we have to manipulate the factor before it goes into the density, and we're going to do that by adding in a brightness contrast node like this. And I've actually got a little thing that tells me all the values that I used, because I have a habit of forgetting them. Here we go. The brightness was a 5 and the contrast was 11, and this is just for my scene. For yours it will probably vary depending on what you like and what looks good. So, you know, 511, that's just what mine looks like. But have a play around with this brightness contrast node. In general though, the contrast has to be over double the brightness, otherwise, well, if I change this to 6, you'll see it's just goes back to its block of volume. So let's leave this at 5. 4, no, or 5. There we go. Okay. So this is the smoke pretty much done, although one thing I do want to do is just add in a volume absorption node, and then I'll get the factor straight from the attribute. I'm not going to bother with the brightness contrast because that sort of makes it a bit overpowered. And all this does is it just means that as light hits a bit of the smoke, that light will be slightly absorbed by it, rather than with the scatter where it just bounces straight off of it. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just add in an add shader, and what this lets me do is just add these two shaders together like so. Okay, and you won't see much of a difference, but I don't even know if it was worth adding this in, but you know, it's good practice to have this in case you need it. So there you go. Alright, so that's the smoke done. Now we need to get on with the fire. So first of all, here we go. If we just duplicate this attribute node and set the name to flame, like so, and then if we add in an emission shader, bring the factor into the strength, and then the strength into the volume here. Ignore the smoke, we can just leave that disconnected for now. What we'll get is some bright white fire like this, and this is disgusting, so we need to make a few changes. Now, first of all, you need to sort of know the basics of what fire actually looks like in detail, and this is where a lot of people screw up. So I'm just gonna show you this, which is a fire animation. Some of you may have already seen this, I don't know, but if I get a frame that actually looks good, that'll do. You can see that the edge of the fire is yellow, but sort of in the actual flames, it's not just a solid chunk of yellow or orange or whatever, it's actually transparent. And we need to get the exact same effect, otherwise it just won't look realistic, and that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they don't have this transparency to it. So if we... Ooh, go away. There we go. Okay. So to achieve this effect is... It's quite simple, really. We just need a go to converter and go to color ramp. Just sort of plug that in there. If we just set the white one to be black, and we can just add in 3 more of these. So just click on this plus 3 times and make this middle one, the second one here. If we make this white, then you can see that what that's done is now made it a bit more transparent. If we just compare the difference, you can see that with this it fades from white to black, but with this, oh sorry, completely wrong thing, there we go, it goes from black to white back to black. And you know, if we can actually set this to an alpha of 0, that would look even better. In fact, no, actually it wouldn't make a difference, sorry, ignore that. It doesn't make a difference, because this isn't a color value or anything. But yeah, anyway, there we go. So we can just leave it at that. I think what I did with my one was I actually set this to B-spline, and then I just sort of squished these in a little bit closer to it. But that makes literally no difference. In this case, it just sort of slightly softens the edges up a little bit more. But if we set this to linear, yeah, look, it makes almost no difference, but B-spline is always an option. Okay, so now that that's done, we need to work on the colors. So just duplicate this color ramp and have it go into this, so have this color ramp go into here, but we're going to make this go into the color and keep the first color ramp's color going into the strength. Sorry if that's a bit confusing, but this is what it should look like, something like this. Alright, so if we just like remove all of these what are they called, color stops or something, yeah, there we go. Alright, so now we can just edit this color ramp and to get the color working. Okay, so with this, in fact I actually just took a screenshot of what I had earlier, because this can take like half an hour to get right. So from left to right, first thing we need is something that's completely white, set the alpha to 0, and then we need another one just quite close to it, and the reason why we have this is it just helps it fade out a little bit nicer. Set the alpha to 1, but we're leaving it at white, so now we should have white with an alpha 0 and white with an alpha 1, and they're quite close to each other like that. And apparently this is also set to B-spline, so let's do that. Okay, and then that way, yeah, there we go. So now the alphas should be sort of starting around there. Okay, and now we can start adding in the yellows and the oranges here. So if we make this maybe a bright yellow, make sure the alpha's at 1, something like that, there we go. And have that relatively close. We don't want there to be too much white, because fire is usually like a bright yellow and orange, but there is a bit of white going on. So there we go, if you just have it around there, and then sort of around the middle, maybe a bit to the left, or I don't know, sort of right under this box where it says B-spline, just sort of right under the left edge. That's the perfect spot, I think. If you set this to an orange, maybe a bit sort of more fun orange, if you know what I mean, so something like that, there we go. So a yellow, sort of, something like that should work. And then maybe over here we'll add the red, and then at the back we're gonna have a black color with an alpha of 0. Okay, and we've got a lot of space behind that as well. So this will, this will look kind of disgusting like that, but if we get the brightness contrast node from earlier, if we duplicate that and put it right there in between the first color ramp and the strength of the emission, And if we set the brightness to 10 and the contrast to 20, then we're getting better looking fire like that. It's looking a bit contrasty though, isn't it? So maybe set this to like maybe 17 and the brightness to 8. Didn't really make much of a difference, did it? Yeah. Okay, maybe if we just sort of stretch these values, if we extend the color ramp a little bit, that could soften it up a bit. I mean, you know, you can tweak various things, and once we add in the smoke, it should look fine. So let's just do that. Okay, so to add in the smoke, we just need to duplicate this add shader, like so. Connect it into the volume and just put the smoke and the fire in like that. And then we get something looking like this, and this will take a while, so I'm just going to pause the video and let it render. Okay, so this is what we've got at the end, and this is looking okay, but you might find that, you know, considering the fire is supposed to be this bright light emitting thing, the smoke is just too grey. And what we can do to change that is, if Blender decides to work, there we go, is we can put in lamps in the fire that emit sort of like a nice subtle orange, and I'm also going to change the colour of the sun lamp down to 0.2, which is what it should be for this scene. I just had it brighter really so you can see the smoke. Okay, and if I just let this render now. Okay, so this is currently rendered at 10 samples, so it's still not looking that great, but when you get more samples it should look something like this. This is 100 samples, by the way. And yeah, another thing is, if you're wondering how I achieved this glow effect, I'm not going to cover it too much, but basically it's here. You just have to make the image a bit sort of darker using RGB curves, do something like that, then blur it. I blurred it twice because I just thought it added a bit of effect to it. Well, I mean, you have to have at least one blur, but I added two because, you know. Add those blurs together, then add the blurs onto the original image, and then that will add in this nice glow effect, like so. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I hope you learnt stuff from this, and your fire should be looking great now, hopefully. So yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for when I upload another video, but you know, I've been a bit useless at that recently, I do admit, so sorry about that. But yeah, make sure to subscribe, +1 or whatever. Oh no, I think it's still liking videos these days, I don't know, like it +1 or whatever. And yeah, if you've got any questions, just put them in the comments and I'll do my best to respond. So yeah, that's pretty much it actually, so thanks for watching and goodbye.